Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Soto, Autumn Windbags, with another one. How you doing? Happy Friday. It's Friday night, and I'm feeling all right. Hope y'all feeling good, too. So, like I said, I'm going to hop on here more often, talk about some things that interest me, that pop up, that pique my interest, that I think maybe you guys want to have a little back and forth on. So, I was flipping through my phone. I'm like, you know what? What's going on today? Nothing really much. After the president was announced yesterday. President Douglas Morgan. Congratulations again, by the way. And I'm looking at this article. I'm reading this article, and it's like, okay, the quarterback's arms race, and talk about, of course, the AFC West. You can't argue that there are better quarterbacks in a division than in the AFC West. That is the quarterback-driven division. That is the tippity top. And this dude ranked them. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is a pretty interesting list. So, of course, before I go any further, I want to make sure everybody, please like, comment, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Hit the notification button down there, because when I go live, you get to see it. We pop on, get to hop on, talk all your stuff with me, and we have a good time. All right? Oh, yeah, David Rios, what up, baby? Michael has a list: Mahomes, Herbert, Wilson, Carr. Number 4, prove me wrong. Okay, well, let's talk about it. So the list is, let's just jump right into it, man. No fluff, none of that stuff. Let's just jump right into it. I usually try to give a couple of minutes after I go live to, talk about my day, talk about some stuff that I want to see going on, talk about some of the latest news going around the league, and just to give people a chance to hop on. But you know what? Let's just get this done. Let's go. All right. So first, and actually, I want to give credit where credit's due. So before I start any further, it was Ray Aspuria. That's who wrote the article. And if you want to read it, it's on I think it's on silverandblack.com. SB Nation, yeah, Silver and Black Pride. silverandblackpride.com. Check that out. It's the arms race. So I want to talk about what his ranking was, and then we can go from there. So first, his first ranking is out of the 4 quarterbacks in the AFC West was Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so he gives his stats for the last season. So Patrick Mahomes' stats, just real quick: 66% completion rate, 4,839, 40, let's say 440, 4,840 yards, 37 touchdowns, 13 picks. He was sacked 28 times. He had 9 fumbles. He had 3 game-winning drives. He also had 66 carries for 381 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, tack those 381 yards on top of his passing is over 5,000 yards, almost 40 touchdowns, 9 fumbles and 13 interceptions. So that's 21 turnovers. So it's 2-1 touchdown to turnover ratio, which is kind of what we're looking for, right? That's kind of like of course, we'd love to have an Aaron Rodgers ratio, right? He throws for 35 and gets picked 4 times. But normally you would want a 2-1. That's kind of like the benchmark of a good quarterback, or a good quarterback touchdown to interception ratio. All right. This is where it gets sticky. I don't think anyone can argue with the number 1 spot. Patrick Mahomes is a special talent. I hate the freaking Chiefs, but I got to give credit where credit's due. This guy's just a freaking amazing football player. He can throw from any angle. It's the baseball. He can fling it from different angles. He knows how to keep plays alive. He's more elusive and faster than people think. 66 carries for almost 400 yards. It's him basically just extending plays and being elusive. And when he extends plays, he looks to hurt you down the field. In his career, he's won a Super Bowl. He was a Super Bowl MVP. He was a league MVP. I think he's a Pro Bowler like 4 times. He was an All-Pro. So he's got a lot of accolades. And we can't really argue with it, homie. He's number one. This is where it gets a little sticky, because Ray Aspuria has number 2, Derek Carr from your Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, let's take a look at the stats. Last year, 68% completion rate, 4,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 14 picks. He was sacked 40 times with 13 fumbles, 6 game-winning drives, 40 carries for 100 yards, so it's not much on the ground, right? But it doesn't matter. The things that pop out to me, one positive, one not so positive. The positive one, of course, is the 6 game-winning drives. That's huge. We only won 10 games. So more than half of the games, Carr had to go back and reach into his bag of tricks and win the game for us. Okay, there's that. The one that pops out to me in the negative is the touchdown to turnover ratio, bro. 23 touchdowns, which is really low. And, I mean, he fumbled 13 times. I believe he only lost 7 of them. So that's 23 touchdowns to 21 turnovers. That's rough. That's rough. And I'll get back to Carr because I think I'm going to spend the most time on Carr. Number 3. In Ray Aspuria's list, Justin Herbert from the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's take a look at Justin Herbert's stats. Justin Herbert's stats, 66% completion rate, 5,014 yards, 38 touchdowns, 15 picks, was sacked 31 times. He only fumbled the ball 1 time. That is a big, strong kid, man. He only fumbled the ball once and got sacked 31 times. He had 5 game-winning drives, and that team only won 9 games, and 5 of those games were game-winning drives. So 63 carries, 300 yards, a little less than 5 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns on the ground. So 41 touchdowns to 16 turnovers. That's pretty damn good. Justin Herbert's a special talent too, man. His first 2 years in the league, unprecedented the numbers he's putting up. Of course, we have to take into account a 17th game in his second season, so that could inflate his numbers a bit. Doesn't take away from the fact that he balled out. I'm not taking anything away from Justin Herbert. I think he's a freaking stud. I think the Chargers are a bunch of bitches, but Justin Herbert is a legit quarterback. And I will give my examples once I get back to Carr why I believe this is a good list, and he is number 3. Rounding out the list, 4th out of 4, Russ Will from the Denver Broncos. His stats for 2021. Now remember, he missed a few games. So 65% completion rate, 3,113 yards, so 3,113, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He was sacked 33 times. And remember, he didn't play a lot of games. He didn't play every single game. So on this list, he was sacked the second most out of the quarterbacks in the AFC West, but he played by far the least amount of games. He had 6 fumbles with 1 game-winning drive. I think the team only won like 5 games. 43 carries, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. So again, his carries for carries per yard, yards per carry is not all that great. People want to talk about him as being a running quarterback. Well, the yards per carry for Mahomes and Herbert were a whole lot better. So I think maybe the sack totals have something to do with it. Who knows? Okay. Here's the thing that jumped out at me. The thing that really jumped out at me was Russell Wilson attempted less passes than Derek Carr threw last year. He only attempted 400 passes. That's how many games less than he played. Carr completed 428 passes. On the season, Russell Wilson threw for 25 touchdowns, whereas Derek Carr only threw for 23. That's a big issue, guys. That's a big issue. The hopefully with McDaniels coming in, having Devontae Adams, all that stuff helps out his touchdown to turnover ratio. That is my biggest concern about Ray Aspuria's list that he put up on Silver and Black Pride. Derek Carr, number 2. That's my biggest beef with this, is the fact that Derek Carr turns the ball over way too goddamn much, and he does not throw the touchdowns that an elite quarterback in the league should be throwing. Okay, let me tell you why I agree with this list and why I think this list is valid. For Derek Carr's entire career, my big thing with him was, yeah, the stats are great, but we're not winning, right? And then everyone comes out of the woodwork with, oh, his defense was this and his this and that and blah, 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 and other stuff. Great. There's no perfect situation in the NFL. There's situations that are better than others. But that's my big thing, is you can't put greatness on someone who doesn't win games. Now, football is the ultimate team sport, and you are relying on a whole. It's not like baseball where you play offense and defense, or basketball where you play offense and defense. You're relying on a bunch of other guys that you have no control over it, right? On your defense. The main issue that I had with a lot of the staunch Carr backers that don't even want to listen to any type of logic or reason was the fact that they would give any excuse under the sun as to why Derek Carr didn't do well as far as wins and losses. So, tumultuous year last year, I will give him that. The main thing we have to look at is why I believe Derek Carr should be number 2 on this list is he made it to the playoffs, man. I mean, Ray says it in his article. You can't discount the fact that despite all the turmoil going on, despite not having as talented a roster as, let's say, the Chargers did, he was able to go on a 4-game winning streak to end the season and win these games. He had 6 game-winning drives. So what I like to bang Carr on the most is, what are his numbers like in the fourth quarter? Yeah, he throws for a lot of yards and touchdowns and stuff in the second and third quarter, but what is he like in the fourth quarter? And by and large, his fourth quarter stats have not been great. But if you chop down the fourth quarter into the final drive, that's where the story changes. 6 game-winning drives cannot be overlooked. Making it to the playoffs despite losing your number 1 target, besides losing your number 1 target for, I think it was 5 games, which is Waller, losing your number 2 target for most of the season in Henry Ruggs, having to throw to guys like freaking Zay Jones, losing your head coach, just all the turmoil going on, that mental toughness, that moxie cannot be overlooked. I will say this till the day I die, or till the day something changes. I do think that Justin Herbert is a more talented quarterback than Derek Carr. I think physically he has the tools. He's more talented a quarterback. But I do believe that Derek Carr plays the position of quarterback better than Justin Herbert. The one beef with this list is the fact that Derek Carr does not throw enough touchdowns and he turns the ball over way too much. That's definitely going to be a rallying point and a point of emphasis for this new regime, because if there's one thing that Josh McDaniels does not like to do is turn the ball over. And if there's one thing that Josh McDaniels can do is he can get a team to score in the red zone. Don't even worry about the Tom Brady numbers. Look at his Matt Castle year. Look at the year he had with Cam Newton, and look at the year he had with Mac Jones. They still performed very well in the red zone. So Josh McDaniels' teams perform well in the red zone. That's going to change. So those touchdown numbers should increase. We'll see about the interception numbers. Because we know that Derek Carr, when he likes and he's comfortable with a target, he'll feed that target. Case in point, Zay Jones. He liked him and he kept feeding him. Look at what happened with Hunter Renfrow. He just came out of nowhere because he just kept feeding him the ball. Now, granted, he did have to make plays on it, but yeah, Carr's going to just look for you if he's comfortable with you. So here's why I believe Justin Herbert is not number 2. I think we can all agree that Patrick Mahomes is number 1. I'm not even going to argue that. I gave you the reasons why I do believe Derek Carr is number 2. I gave you some reasons why I think Derek Carr can slip off of number 2 quite easily. Not throwing enough touchdowns, so not putting enough points on the board, number 1, and also turning the ball over way too much. Okay? All right. So there's that. I gave you some reasons why Justin Herbert maybe should be higher on the list. Let me tell you why he shouldn't be higher on that list. He did have a lot of game-winning drives. He does have mind-numbing stats. But for whatever reason, he was gifted such a much better position, such a much better roster, much better organization. But he was handcuffed this last year with a head coach that I think wanted to rely a little bit too much on his talent and not so much on coaching. And I mean, Brandon Staley was a defensive coordinator for the Rams. He comes over and his defense gets worse. And it's not that he didn't have good talent, because he had good talent. So we have to take a look at that and be like, okay, well, his offense blew up, but how much of that was Brandon Staley? His defense got worse. How much of that was Brandon Staley? I don't care how good you are and how much numbers you pull up. It's hard to win games in the National Football League, ladies and gentlemen. It is hard to win football games, and it's easy to lose them. One bad decision here, one bad decision there. Take a look at some of those Art Shell days when he didn't know how to. He's like Art. Like, I love Art Shell, man. I want to get an Art Shell jersey number 78 till I die. But I think Art Shell was the reason the phrase was coined, clock mismanagement. He lost a lot of games because of clock mismanagement. John Gruden himself lost a lot of games because of clock mismanagement. The reason why a lot of people are banging on McCarthy from the Cowboys is because of clock mismanagement. At the end of the games, when you win so many games like the Raiders did on last drives of the game, you have to be able to maneuver that clock. I personally think, seeing what I've seen of the Chargers, and I watched a lot of Charger games last year, those 5 game-winning drives were Justin Herbert, and a lot of the close losses were Brandon Staley. That's the biggest thing holding Justin Herbert back from jumping up on this list, because wins matter. It's not all about your stats. It's about winning games. All right. Now let's go to Russ Will. Russ Will, Corey Martin, you're absolutely correct. I really hate the Chargers. It's not that I just really hate the Chargers. There's no just. I really do hate the Chargers. Now, I said a lot of complimentary things about their roster, about their organization, about their quarterback. The only thing that I knocked them on was their head coach and his terrible decision-making. So if you're, I don't know if you're a Charger fan or not, but if you are, prove to me that Brandon Staley did a good job last year when he's a defensive coach. The offense stayed great, but the defense got worse. I'll wait. Oh, I wonder what Love DC Forever thinks about this list. What up, man? All right, so let me take this Russ Will bullshit out of here. Okay, Russ Will. Why is what Russ Will number 4? He did have some good stats, but the thing you have to take a look at now is Nathaniel Hackett. He is exactly that. I believe Nathaniel Hackett is a hack. I was talking with a friend of mine, and he's a Bills fan, and he was with the Bills, and I think that Nathaniel Hackett's kind of aura came about because he was the assistant offensive coordinator to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Let's not get it twisted here. Aaron Rodgers is the offensive coordinator for Green Bay. He just had Nathaniel Hackett just had the title. So the reason why I would personally put Russ Will 4 is because I don't believe in his head coach. I think that his weapons are overrated. I think the best receiving player on the team was traded to the Seahawks in Noah Fant. I think that was the best pass catcher they had. They do have a solid line that's getting older. They do have a solid defense that's getting older. Now they do have, some guys in the secondary, a young linebacker, but their defensive line is getting older. Their offensive line is getting older. And we saw what happened to us when our offensive line got older 1 year to the next. Two guys that started most of the games the year before in Incognito and Good didn't play a single snap last year. So we see what 1 year to the next does to offensive linemen. So Russ Will going into a new system. Everyone wants to think, oh, Russ Will's this great runner and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Take a look at the numbers. 43 carries, 180 yards. That's not that great of a yards per carry there. So how much are they going to incorporate that RPO game? That's what they really feasted on in Seattle. They do have two nice running backs with the Broncos. How is that going to work? It all depends on Nathaniel Hackett. I don't have too much trust in Nathaniel Hackett. Same coaching issues that I have with the Chargers are the same issues that I have with the Broncos. And because of that, I'm going to put Russ Will 4 because I don't personally think, despite the accolades that he's garnered in his career and the Super Bowl win and all that stuff, and one play away from winning 2 Super Bowls, I don't think he's as talented physically as Justin Herbert. I just don't think that's the case. He got hurt last year. Normally, especially with smaller players in the NFL, once they get hurt once, it's easier for them to get hurt, subsequent times. So we'll see what happens. I'm not trying to, get somebody infected with the injury bug before the season even starts. But there's a lot of things going against him. I am not a slave to stats. The only stat that I feel is the most important are what wins you games. So that's scoring points, stopping teams from scoring, and winning games. So all these peripheral stats, they don't mean much to me. Like, for sure, a touchdown to turnover ratio stat is big for me. Wins and losses is big for me. So I feel if we can get this touchdown to turnover ratio taken care of by Derek Carr, if we can get him closer to the 30 to 35 touchdowns and get the interceptions probably closer to 10, 12-ish, around there, I think we'll be in a lot better shape. So overall, my thoughts are this. I agree. I agree with this ranking, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to put it, because everyone says, oh, well, Derek Carr is probably the 4th best quarterback in his division. Well, that's great. You can say that because he's not maybe as decorated as the other 3, but he made it to the playoffs last year. The other 2 guys did it. The other 2, like you say, well, Derek Carr's getting a new head coach, a new system, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Well, so is Russell Wilson in Denver. And, I mean, honestly, I think as far as an offensive mind goes, I think Josh McDaniels is a lot more proven than a Nathaniel Hackett. As far as being a head coach, the only thing that Brandon Staley has proved to me is that he can mess some stuff up. He had a nice situation there. He had a really nice roster. Really nice roster. He fixed up his offensive line. He solidified it again this year, and he just, he happened to screw up last year. So you have to combine the roster, quarterback play, and the leadership on the team, and they all weigh differently. They all pull the weight a little bit different. I think the combination of that is a great list here, guys. Let's see what you guys think. Love DC forever. I live in the Seattle area. Trust me, the Wilson hype is just that. He's a spoiled guy who has been going downhill for a couple of years. He will have no better O-line in Denver than he did in Seattle. I'm telling you right now, offensive lines are a fickle fig, man, because, again, we had 2 guys that were workhorses for us in 2000. 2021 didn't play a snap, and they were both older. The offensive line is getting a little bit older when it comes to the Broncos. Jack Kenna, what's good? Anthony's getting pissed. Chill, bro. Chill, bro. Soto, do you think the contracts were good? Saw 3.6 mil in cap space in 2023. I think we will be fine. Here's the reason why. One of the main reasons is Derek Carr's contract is non-guaranteed. What that means is you can fiddle with it, right? You can change the structure of the contract to save yourself more cap space. So that's the big one right there. I really do think that's going to be an issue that we're not talking about right now. If everything was stayed exactly the same right this second, yes, we have 3.6 million in cap space for next year. Things aren't going to stay the same, man. After all this finagling and moving numbers around and this and that, you're telling me that that Ziegler and Champ are going to be able to find a way to, make this work. I think we're going to be fine. Provencio, Lockett, and DK are better than the Donkey Squad. I mean, I agree 100%. I think that the best, whoever plays quarterback in Seattle is going to throw to 3 really good targets. Because Lockett, DK, and Noah Fant are all legit NFL targets for sure. Why, Steve the Cockfighter, Wild Things is on Showtime right now. What's your favorite Denise Richards movie? Soto, it's got to be Wild Things, baby. I got to see them titties. Nick 209, I'm playing golf on Sunday. If you don't golf, start. I do golf. I haven't golfed in a while. I got my own set. I need to go out there and swing the clubs a little bit more. The rat smash is a little bit better. I don't know. Good question. Cook tore up the Raiders last year, though. Well, the thing is in Bradley's defensive scheme, tight ends can hurt that scheme because of the weakness in the seams and also how loose they play over the middle. So that's Cook's shit right there, over the middle and up the seams, and that's how you attack a freaking Bradley defense, and that's exactly what he did. No DC forever, and it was no easy task for Wilson to adapt to the AFC offense, having played in and against NFC primary teams his entire career. If I know anything, I know AFC and NFC are not the same. That is very true. Who's playing tight end for the Chargers? I think it's Cook still. I think it's Cook. All right, guys. Well, okay. All right, guys, that's my time. I gave you almost 30 minutes today. I wanted to give you only 15, so you get a free 15 minutes from me. As I always say, I really appreciate you guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button. I hope you guys like this new format where I'm hopping on and talking about new things almost every night. Sometimes I got the chick over or I'm going over to her house and, we're hanging out, we're going out, doing something, getting dinner, going to a movie, doing some. I was just happen to be home right now, and I saw this earlier today, and I wanted to make some time to hop on, talk to you guys a little bit. Appreciate your time, guys. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you all the love and support. So until next time, guys, I'm going to tell you, peace.